I want to start this morning. We're going to talk about today the National Day of Prayer. And we think it's important that as a nation that we come together and we recognize the power of prayer and what it means to us. Every president, I'll tell you this, President Carter was a man of deep faith, and he was a man of deep convictions, and he believed in prayer. And so we thought it's part of our legacy, his legacy, and what we're doing here at our function here, the Sunshine 100, is to both honor that legacy, but also continue it and encourage people to join on the National Day of Prayer. It is May 1st. Lisa has a whole group of information. But what we're going to ask you to do, and we're going to talk about this, is how you can get involved in it and how you can encourage others around you, some of your political leaders and so forth, how you can get involved in the National Day of Prayer. But before we do that, I do have this announcement, and it's heavy on my heart right now. My beloved Florida State, it's where I went to school. They haven't, well, I guess they've stopped it now. They had an active shooter on campus. Some of you have already heard that. I don't know the details, and since I don't know all the details, I know they're starting to come out with the reports. There's supposedly possibly 2 shooters that was going on. I don't know what's going on with that. But if we're going to talk about prayer, I told Lisa, I said, how about we just open? So if you don't mind, I'm going to open with a word of prayer, and then we're going to get in and talk about the National Day of Prayer. Will you join me? Father, I thank you right now that we have a group of people who come across from our state, all over the state, who love the fact that you've given us a chance to be in a nation that's free, is free to pray, free to talk with you, knowing that you are the God that can hear our prayers, and you're a great God of love and protection. I pray right now for the protection of the kids, the students, the workers, all of those that are engaged there at Florida State right now. It's horrible to see when evil comes out and wants to take the lives of innocent youth and students and others. But I know that you are a God of protection and comfort. And so I pray right now for your comfort and protection for those there. I pray for the law enforcement, that they would be able to do their work. And then I pray that even through this time, we would be reminded of how important it is to speak peace, to speak love and truth and kindness. I pray that as we take this time now and go into a time of looking at the National Day of Prayer, that we would remember that we turn to you in times of crisis because we know that you hear us. And we pray right now for this nation, and we do pray for peace. I thank you for these men and women that are here right now, that they are people of peace. And you'll hear our prayers, and we'll give you all the glory. And we pray this in your precious name. Amen. You know, we have a good team. I have Jennifer Webb. I think you've heard us talk about this. Jennifer Webb called me. We started this thing together. And then we brought Lisa on right after the election of 2022. And we've really worked to just build out a group of folks that care about our state, care about the state of our state, recognize that we're not always going to agree, and we work to bring peace and so that we don't have to have the conversation I just had with the Lord about what's happening at Florida State. But we also know that we live in troubled times, and we don't want to run from that. We want to celebrate it. We want to be able to say, let's work together on this. And so with that, Jennifer, thank you for your leadership in this. Jen's up in Tallahassee with me a lot. We both are up there. I have my office up there. Jen works in a similar field that I work in. And I know that Jen, so I'm gonna let you say a couple of things. Then I'm gonna turn it over to Lisa to kind of talk about the National Day of Prayer. So Jen.
Thank you, Kurt, and thank you all for joining us today. I think that this is going to be a fantastic webinar. One of the things that Kurt and I had in common when we were up in Tallahassee were that we were both members of the prayer caucus that met every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. It was And in Tallahassee, that's the caucus that actually puts on our day of prayer at the Capitol every year and brings together, and it's interfaith. We had individuals from the Jewish faith, Catholics, Baptists like myself, Kurt, Catholic Baptist, all sorts of when we had the Democrats elected a Muslim American representative who's now a judge, he would also join us. And it was a great time to come together to forge relationships based on just, on bringing our most moral self to the Capitol. And I really appreciated those relationships. And I appreciate the role that coming together as people of faith has in forging cross-partisan relationships. And it might not be something that that we readily think of when we think of the role of prayer and in our national events, but I think it's actually the proper role of prayer and of bringing our selves as people of faith together to express curiosity about one another, to pray for one another, and to commune together before the business of the state, before we get ready and geared up for the business of the state. And to that effect, these National Day of Prayers, that I think is the best, is really what these days are all about. And also towards the end of the year, I know that Chaplain Tim, who's the chaplain up in Tallahassee, he was really bummed that he couldn't be here today. He has already left for Easter with his family to go and visit his mother. But towards the end of the year, we'll have him join us, and he can to build on this conversation. So I'll happy to see you all here, and I am happy to turn it over to my colleagues now. And I also just want to say that they came up with this curriculum themselves. So a huge thank you to them both for not only the role that they play in developing this curriculum um, for Florida, but for the entire network. They shared it with our colleagues in other states so that they could use it. So very happy and very grateful for their efforts here. And with that, I'll turn it over.
Thank you, Jen. And I'll say this, Lisa, I'm going to give Lisa the credit because Lisa has, first of all, I got to know Lisa as a woman of prayer. She has a real ministry across the state with women who have been diagnosed with breast cancer. And she understood that. And that's how I first heard about her. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And so she believes in the power of prayer. But this National Day of Prayer that we're going to talk about, it's not meant to be a political thing. It can turn into that. That's not what I ever want it to be. We want it to be able to bring people to stop. I like what you said, that your better moral self, Jennifer. I think that a higher understanding that we can act better. We can be better. And I think when we stop and we turn and give God the glory in this, we recognize it's more than us. And so I would hope that we're building a community through our Sunshine 100. I would hope that we're building a community that really embraces this and works closer together through this time. But with that said, uh, just to see what Lisa has engaged with this, I know that she's very active in this area. So Lisa, I want you to talk about it. Let's talk about the National Day of Prayer a little bit and how we're not preaching at you now. We're basically saying, come join and get other people involved in this so that they can too be a part of this. So Lisa, I'll turn it over to you and let you kind of talk about what you developed.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Kurt. Well, what we did was basically, let me just say this. Not everybody is a person of prayer. Not everybody is a person of faith. We're not trying to shove it down your throat. We're just trying to share a way as a peacemaker, as a bridge builder, you can expand and have these conversations, especially now taking advantage of the National Day of Prayer with people of faith in your community. So what if it wasn't necessarily addressed to you, but what if it opened a conversation with the people in faith that you can say, hey, what does this look like to you? And are you willing to have these conversations? I think if you're a part of the Sunshine 100, then peace in your community is important to you. And we believe that building bridges across divides with, it starts with relational trust. It starts with being able to get to know somebody, not based on their political background. I've gotten to know many of you who have complete different views on political things and have become near and dear to my heart because we're able to overlook what divides us and look and see what unites us. And so during this National Day of Prayer, there's a few people you can really think about, and we're going to share the toolkit with you in the chat. A few people you can think about contacting are your elected officials, school board leaders, state reps, commissioners, the mayors. Last year, we asked all of them in my community in Miami-Dade County to give us a proclamation for a day of prayer being 1 year to the date before the elections, and asking them to call for peace. And so not only did that, I was able to engage those people, but then they took that proclamation and shared on their social media. And so they were able to engage their followers with that same question. What is peace building? What does a peacemaker look like to you? And how can you lead in that area? But also, think about your community organizers, think about non-for-profits. I see I have Adrian Caballero on the line, and he is a chaplain for the Miami Police Department and works right now with the Florida International University Police Department as a chaplain and coworker with them. But think about those people in your community. If you're like, well, I don't really know any pastors that I could call and say, hey, I want you to preach this. That's not what we're asking. We're just asking you, hey, take a look at this toolkit and see what areas, what part of it might you be able to use to have open those conversations and have these deep conversations with people maybe you regularly engage with, but you've never had these conversations, or maybe somebody you've never spoken to before, but be willing to step out and call them and say, hey, it's the National Day of Prayer. Would you be willing to bring to your community the thought, the challenge, or the self-reflection of what is a peacemaker in our community in times like this, when we are so polarized, where violence is always around us, as we can see today? I have no idea why the shooting is happening in FSU, but devastated by it. And having those open conversations with each of them. I don't know if Lorianne can share the link to the chat, but my question is this for each of you. What if we looked at ourselves first? What if before we looked at the other side, the other people, the people who are loudest or maybe annoy us the most, what if we took a moment to model humility and self-reflection? Like if I asked you to close your eyes and think of somebody you can't stand, I'm pretty sure all of you can think of one person, right? Like my pastor always used to say, close your eyes and think of the person you can't forgive. And then he'd do a whole teaching on forgiveness. Like as a Christian woman, I should be quick to forgive, right? And slow to anger, fast to love. So if I were to ask you that question, that person, what would it take today to you to reach out, maybe a text, hey, thinking of you, like how could you change the conversation? And it starts with us, because if we're only going to pass out toolkits to other people on how to behave and how they should treat us or the people that we love, then we're missing the whole point of the National Day of Prayer, where it starts from us, right? Kurt, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I do. Let me just say this. First of all, I like the fact. Here's what I've done. I'm engaged in probably 4 or 5 different organizations, and I've asked them to take and just make a statement. Now, I do a lot in the child welfare, and I was talking to our faith group yesterday. We have a group there that we came in. We were talking about this. I was telling what we were doing here with our Sunshine 100, and I asked them to join us on this call. I don't see a couple of them on this, but I saw some folks that were from my organization on here. But I said, why don't you go on your website and just say, join us on the National Day of Prayer. And it's May 1st, and give them the details, and just remember to be a people of prayer. And I told them, I said, specifically for our world, it's a National Day of Prayer. You don't just have to think of, praying for, Montana or something. It's in other words, pray for children and families. Pray for the children and families that we serve. Use this as a vehicle to be able to remind people that we need to be praying for one another and praying for the folks that we serve. And everyone said that they would do that. They would put it up on their Facebook, social media. I've instructed the folks at my organization that we'll do some memes or some little statements that we do in our social media about National Day of Prayer and inviting people to do this. Again, in keeping with the character of the person that started this movement, the former President Jimmy Carter, a man of prayer, we think that it's appropriate for us to do this type of thing and to engage it in such a way. So that's one way of doing it, on your own social media, inviting people to have National Day of Prayer. Again, this isn't a partisan thing at all. It goes on whether it was Biden in the White House or Trump in the White House or whoever has Congress. This is a continuous thing. And by the way, what Jen said, I used to love when we did our state thing for our National Day of Prayer. They actually had me one year sing for it. I think I ruined it after that, but I actually enjoyed that, and I got to sing for it. And we always bring a speaker in and so forth. So it allows people to stop and say, wait a second, there's more than just me, and it's more than just a political debate. We have an opportunity to really reach out. And I again, what Jennifer said, what Lisa said is we build relationships and through kindness, and remind people of that. Let's be the instruments that explain that to folks. So that's what I would add. Start with your own social media, add that day, May 1st, and encourage people. And then use it as a vehicle, a tool to go talk to somebody about it and say, maybe your city councilman. I'm going to have a phone call with a city councilman as soon as I get off this call today, and see if I can get someone to put that up on our Ocala City Council. And I have a friend of mine that's in the Pinellas County area, and I'll see if they want to do something as well. So maybe you want to encourage someone to do that.
Right, Jen?
Yeah, I think that a lot of Kurt works in the child serving space in addition to his work with the Carter Center and Sun 100, and I work in a space outside of this as well. And I think that we are stronger when we are using all of our affiliations and bringing everyone together. And also, you know, sometimes it's hard to engage um I don't know, mayors and other things because they're busy, but but they all do have, you know, chaplains for that represent their, you know, police department or their city council or whatever. And so it's a really good way to also pull in those individuals. And, you know, because we are, because we are in the immediate aftermath of the shooting at FSU, it's like some of the first people that we turn to for speaking and for helping to contextualize this stuff are people of faith. And
Yeah.
so I think it is important to reach out to these individuals. And in the Tampa Bay region, you know, we can, for those of you in the Tampa Bay region, and I see a few of you on, um, you know, we can generate a list together and reach out. And I really appreciate it when we can um pull together cross faith collaborations, because I think it is really strong and we all have a vested interest in ensuring that in being peace builders and ensuring that we have, you know, a strong democracy in our state and in the United States.
Yes. And I'd love to give, in the spirit of peacemaking and prayer, I'd love to hear if any of you have any comments or thoughts that you'd like to share.
This is Martha. I just want to comment, both Kurt and Lisa in particular, you're certainly talking about a National Day of Prayer. It's not a National Day of Religion. And I think we all pray to someone, something, regardless of our faith. And that's what needs to be encouraged, is that something larger than ourselves. And so again, it's prayer. And I have to say, I pray every day, sometimes just to make it through the darn day, you know.
Yeah.
But here we're talking about something very, very serious that impacts all of us, and certainly worthy. And I have a granddaughter in Tallahassee right now, and I keep
Goodness.
looking at my just off campus, and she's with friends. And sent her the little emoji of prayer, because
Yes.
there's nothing they can do other than keep themselves safe. And I'm able to get information from some media, directly from some media people, to give them a little more information than they can get. But again, it allows them to have that sense of safety and know that others are praying for them, even if they're not direct victims.
Martha, your point was so well taken by saying it's not a national day of religion. Nathan and I were talking about this one time. We said, maybe the only area that's more divided than politics is religion. Sometimes, I used to say, again, I served in the church. If you get five Baptists together, they have 25 opinions. And,
Yes.
And it's true about all of that. No, this is not this. What you just said, you wrapped it up well. I'll let you run the seminar. This is exactly what we're trying to do. And I think, like I said, it's in keeping with the legacy of President Carter and many of our political leaders that have come before us that are looking for peace. In the political world, you ever notice how it's just one-upsmanship? You take this shot and this person takes this shot and we take this shot and everything is out on social media. And you think that's all there is. Well, there's not. And I think we're the voice that begins to say, all right, we can have differences, but we are going to try to come together, and it's unacceptable to have what happened at Florida State. Just unacceptable. It's unacceptable what happened to Josh Shapiro. And I mean, just unacceptable. I don't know who did it and why, how it just, and we just collaboratively, I don't care where your party is, steps up and says, no, we believe in peace and we're going to continue to be peacemakers. And so I think if even we thought it would be important to talk about the National Day of Prayer just because we thought it was a time when we could all stop and reflect and collectively, exert our voice that this is what's important. So encourage your leaders to be involved in this. I think in the toolkit, Lisa, you've given them some things. So if you want to download the toolkit, I believe let me say this, the toolkit probably is more decidedly from a Christian perspective because that's what Lisa and I have that background. I mean, obviously I'm a pastor and so forth. So but it can be applied in any situation. Our intent is to have conversations with folks. And again, I really appreciate the comment that was made that it's not a day of religion. It's a day for we collectively try to communicate that there's a higher power than ourselves. And that in my opinion, there's a greater God and he is in control and we can turn to him in time of need. Others.
Thank you, Martha. Angie?
I just want to share, I'm part of a faith-based advisory board for the city of Hialeah. The mayor there, actually he's going to Washington, D.C. for a career opportunity, but he established a few years back a breakfast on the Day of Prayer, and it continues and has become very big. The first, we've always invited an imam, and a rabbi, a Catholic priest, from different sectors, all the ones that are close by to the Hialeah cities, but now it's becoming broader. So it can be done. It has been done, and we're doing it here in the county. So Miami-Dade County I think is an opportunity I've seen in the last few years. Not only the city of Hialeah is one of the biggest prayer event, but all little smaller municipalities and county and law enforcement, they do participate in activities, maybe small or big, but they do have the national prayers. I will be sharing the stuff that I have with the imams that I know, the rabbis, and as well the priests and pastors that I know as well. But even one of our commissioner, even though he's not doing the Day of Prayer because there's so many activities happening in the county, he's actually hosting the following week a family faith and festival where he's invited, he's a commissioner for the county, and he's invited all I work for law enforcement. I work for the state attorney's office, and he's invited us and different people from the county, government, non-government, to participate in this. So I am seeing the changes here in the county, and I do encourage other communities as well to do it. And it's just great. So I just want to, sometimes it's baby steps, but sometimes we get to see the running, and we're seeing the running now with the city of Hialeah hosting one of the largest. Last year we had over 300 people in that breakfast. So, and we look forward to this May 1st. So if you're in Hialeah and Miami-Dade County, please let me know, and I would make sure that you could have a seat in our prayer breakfast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a great reminder, Angie. Yeah, he invited, the mayor there invited somebody to represent every religion in his city. And guess what? Apart from being able to present, apart from inviting all these people in, now you have leaders from every background and every religion together on one stage, and they're communicating, and he's done it several years. So they've become friends, and that has opened the door to break boundaries and, and just the separation that caused, like, this is my lane, I stay in my lane. These people of faith have now become friends. It's a great job.
Others are thinking of ways they can engage this or have engaged it. Is there any? Joe?
Actually, I was thinking of what was said about Hialeah. It may be too soon. May 1st is coming up too quickly. But imagine if that event, the way she described it, would be available on Zoom, that we could all kind of do our networking, our associations, and allow people to Zoom into that event or some event like that. Because the more we could connect with each other through a common experience, which seems to be very, interfaith, that description, that might also amplify what we could do in our own community at other times. Just the thought, maybe not for this time, but maybe another time. I've been on Zooms with 10,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible, to open
Yeah.
something up to lots and lots of people, but it may be too soon. May 1st is only a week or so away.
We're just finalizing our event, but I'll send an email to our people, see if it's possible. But definitely for our next, I'm part of the board of that advisory board. So I definitely make a note for next year. And I apologize, I do have to leave for another meeting. You guys have a wonderful, blessed Resurrection Sunday, and many blessings to all.
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you, Angie.
Joe, that's a great advice. That's a great comment. And Lisa, you may know this better. There may be a National Day of Prayer event that's happening specifically that we could put out there that you could, maybe join in through Zoom or.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
So we'll see if we can check it, and we'll just go to our website. We'll make sure we try to advertise all of that. All right. Other comments? Gerald, go ahead. Just take yourself off mute, sir. There you go.
Hello.
Yep.
Hello.
Got you.
I just kind of wanted to introduce myself. My name is Gerard, and I am new to your group, and I also have to get off, so I thought I would jump in quickly while I have a chance. I want to first of all thank you, Kurt, Lisa, and Jennifer for doing this. I had no idea that this circle existed. So many good things here. One is the whole notion that we could turn to a higher power to help guide our activities. And this makes me think about the National Day of Prayer, and hoping that maybe as part of that National Day of Prayer, we can pray, but we can also give people the tools to start making prayer a daily part of their practice. I don't know about you, but like the woman before me, prayer every day is very, very important to me. The other thing I want to appreciate is this diversity of religions and sects that I see being talked about, at least. I don't know about you, but I feel like in our world today, it's got to be, guys, we have to bring the people of different faiths together. And I know there's other people in the world working on this, but for us to do that too, I think it's going to have a major impact on the world. And I so appreciate your instinct, I guess is the only way I can say it, instinct to bring in all of the different Christian faiths, but also the non-Christian and even maybe the non-theistic faiths. Like I work with a group of Buddhists, which is really interesting because I have a long history in Christianity, but I'm a Buddhist practitioner. So I kind of see a lot of different sides of things. And I talk every day to people who come into our center that are driven in by anxiety and other mental problems. And they're worried, they're worried about the state of the world and their own personal role in it. And they don't have a grounding in faith. So they come into a place seeking meditation just as a way of entering into some kind of let's just call it a practice that recognizes a power or a being greater than our own selves, our own egos. So I think that's a good step for them to take. But I also believe that our prayer here in the context that we're talking about is very key. We're turning to God, and we're not talking to God in the sense of, in my opinion, we're not asking for things. We do ask for things, but I think we're also listening, and that listening is an open, very open listening, and that helps us to see others in a different way and to see the situation that we're facing in new ways. So I hope we do a lot of listening. So I've talked enough, and again, I just want to say appreciate you and keep up the great work. And I look forward to getting to know you more. Thank you.
Gerard, thank you. I called you Gerald. Thank you so much. Those are wonderful words. I get up in the morning and I try to spend a couple of hours in the morning, first thing, before I do anything else. It's 5:30, and I try to spend some time both in scripture and in prayer. There's a pastor out in California. I happen to be in Reno right now. My son's wedding is Saturday, so I'm out. We're going over to Tahoe to do our wedding over there. As soon as I'm done with this meeting, we're going over to getting that set up. But there's a pastor. He gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning in Pacific time, but he prays with folks, and he does about a 10-minute thing. Jack Hibbs is his name. And I just join him. I just listen to him and I join prayer. And then I have my own, there's a couple of prayer apps out there. If you like prayer apps, you can follow those along. I guess our intention is to say, look, I think whenever you stop and you recognize it's not all about you anymore. And it's about being able to go out and reach other folks, and you become much more inviting in. And I agree, we begin to pray for people. I find myself praying for people that, as Lisa said, sometimes I have a hard time dealing with. And that's a transformation that takes place in you. So let me encourage us in this gathering, this group here, this circle that we have. And I encourage you, as we're expanding this circle, to we're continuing to work on being peacemakers. And the way we do that is we reflect it in who we are, in our gentleness and our kindness, and educated. And I always believe you should start your day wanting to encourage someone, be an encourager. We all get discouraged about things, be an encourager. And I think that's one of the best ways to start. Then you get educated, and then you begin to engage things the right way.
Gerard, one of my I worked for a Zen Buddhist priest in Massachusetts I had sold my business. I was waiting to come down to Florida. I'm an anthropologist by training. I had been recruited to University of South Florida. And when I was in grad school, I did some research into the role of meditation and helping to like and its health benefits. And I I love that you brought in meditation. I think that it's a practice that would help people in general to be less reactive, to be more responsive, to take a breath instead of take a punch. And I personally, if you or your Buddhist friends wanted to host a meditation, like a weekly meditation for peace, I would totally join a virtual like silent meditation or something like that, where because it is such a powerful practice. You know, if prayer is where we talk to God, meditation, I love the definition of meditation is where we listen for God's voice back, response back to us. Um, or if you're Buddhist, then meditation is just where you are. And the practice and the point is one and the same. But I think that's a beautiful way of pulling together interfaith, uh, a practice for peace, because it is all about listening and silence and intent and not about dogma in the least. So I would join you. If you
Yeah.
wanted to set that up, I would support you, and I would host it virtually.
Let's
I would tell you,
talk. Let's
David,
talk.
King David says that. He says, I meditate on your word day and night. And yeah, so I agree with that.
Yeah,
Which
one of
is
my favorite verses is, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you, God. That's such a good reminder. If we wake up in the morning and say, okay, God, I need you to help my words be right and my heart be right. So that I can treat others well.
Thank you all.
That's beautiful. Thank
We'll
you.
talk. We'll
It was
talk.
wonderful
okay.
to meet
I'll
you.
reach out to you.
Okay.
I really will. I like to meditate. I think the best thing that has happened for meditation is all of those apps where you can meditate with other people and see the folks meditating with you.
Right.
And so I'm happy to join in and support that if that's something that you wanted or your friends wanted to
You
take
know,
on.
guys, to Joe's point, when COVID hit, we thought, we were done for it. But then, of course, we learned how to do things on Zoom, and now we're doing a lot. And for example, this Easter, I'm having a Zoom meeting with a group of people in Ukraine,
Nice.
and we're praying together and we're talking about their experience. We do this regularly. How cool is that? I mean, I would never been able to do that without that tool, right? So it works.
Thank you.
Gerard, you're awesome. Thank you. Any
Thank
other
you
comments?
both. Thank you all.
You bet.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Well, again, avail yourself to the toolkit that Lisa, we didn't need to go through the toolkit. You can take a look at it, avail yourself. Reach out to us if you have any questions or issues that you'd like for us to help you with. Make sure you put something up on your website and maybe your personal social media about the National Day of Prayer. And thank you for all your engagement. Now, before we go, I want to say a couple of things, and we'll keep this short today, but I need Jennifer, I need you to gen up.
Yes,
We're gonna
happy
gen
to.
up our next event. So
Y'all, so I'm really excited, because I know, like, if not like I was about to say, if prayer's Lisa's thing, then like the ethics bowl is my thing. This is one of my family's favorite weeks of the year, as we judge high school ethics bowl competitions and college ethics bowl competitions. So if you have young people in your families who are in high school or college, or if you're interested in just judging an ethics bowl competition, or even just learning about it, we leave these weekends so like encouraged by the state of like the ethical thinkers that are coming up through our high school and college programs. And a little bit of a spoiler alert, it's similar to debate in that you have teams, but that's where the similarities stop. These teams are encouraged to like sit with ethical dilemmas and come up with and to express their thinking through an ethical dilemma. And points are given to teams based on how they promote ethical thinking in one another. So it's not gotcha questions. It's not like, ha, I pointed out your deficiencies. You actually get negative points for doing that. So this also promotes civil discourse. You get points for helping one another to be your most ethical and most consistent ethically thinking self. Especially in high school, they don't hide behind theorists. They really do just grapple with concepts. It's gorgeous. We have the head of the high school ethics bowl competition and the head of the college ethics bowl competition joining us on May 15th. So Please hop in. If you don't have, if this isn't really your cup of tea, but you have, but you know that, but you think that other people in your sphere might be interested or networks might be interested in this, encourage them to attend. One of our advisory committee members, he is actually the head of his high school, I mean, the college bowl at his campus. And so that's how I got involved. But so we're lucky that, you know, this is in the strain of highlighting the amazing stuff that our partners are doing. This is part of this. And on that note, if you are a member of a group who is doing important work to promote, you know, civil discourse, peace building, Joe, I'm looking at you. This might be something that y'all want to talk about, the call that y'all have on Monday and that group. Let us know, because we would love to highlight and cross-fertilize the work that's being done in other spaces. We know that this is only one of many hats that many of y'all wear. So if you'd like to talk about, you know, the group, like if you'd like us to spotlight some of the work that you're doing, that's what this year is about. It's about holding up partners. So please email either me, Kurt, or Lisa, or all three of us, and let us know what you're up to in the other groups that you belong to. And we'll see if there's a good overlap. We'd love to have you on and find out more. Any questions, anyone? Everybody jazzed about the high school and college ethics bowl? I see Justin smiling. Martha's a good deal. Joe, okay.
Well,
good
and
deal.
just the fact that we're doing this and having this conversation and we're bringing it to the next generation, we're building all of this out, really critical. So yeah, that's up next month. So that will be our lunch and learn next month. We haven't announced who we're going to have on there as sort of special guest speakers, but you'll get that announcement as when we pull all of that together. We're looking forward to it. And guys, continue to tell people about what we're doing here and the work we're doing here across the state. Probably the months of June and July, we'll probably slow things down a little bit. There's going to be a lot of people traveling. Jen, I think, is doing a world tour, and so there'll be some people traveling and so forth. But we do hope that you can join us on the one in May. If you haven't signed up for it, you can sign up for it. And in fact, Lorianne, go ahead and put that into the chat so they can click on that and sign up for that event coming up. All right. With that and the good of the order, anything else? Anybody has anything they'd like to say today? Remember National Day of Prayer, May 1. We appreciate you guys. We do, guys. We really do appreciate you. I'll say this. I do pray for you. I pray that God's given us this Sunshine 100. It's something that's cool. I didn't know about it when we first got started. I said, I don't know, maybe this could be kind of challenging. It is challenging. And that's a challenging of a good thing. And we're building some really good friendships across the state from folks that I probably would have never interacted with.
That's
and
right.
So it's in the Zoom. You can click on that and sign up for it, and bring some friends.
Absolutely.
Lisa, any final words?
No, I just want to thank everybody for coming. I appreciate your time. Of course, our thoughts and prayers are still with the people that were injured and the people that have children at FSU or grandkids. And but I do think we can use this National Day of Prayer as an opportunity to reach out into our community with this message of being true peacemakers, where it starts with yourself and then it overflows to others.
All right. Thank you for getting on, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Call us anytime. God bless.
Bye, everyone.